Know ahead of time that you and your spotter are on the same page when it comes to hand signals. Remember that your forklift has rear steering, and that means its rear end will swing wide when turning a corner. The opposite is true when you're backing a forklift. Now the front of the load will swing, so make sure there's plenty of clearance. What's a safe traveling speed for a forklift? That depends on what you're moving, space available, and other traffic, as well as things like bumps, depressions, or debris. It's not easy to stop or swerve with a heavy forklift. Even an empty forklift can tip over if you swerve or corner too fast. Always go slow enough to maneuver and stop safely at any time. Watch for wet, oily, or icy surfaces along your route. Avoid them when you can, and get someone to clean them up as soon as possible. Ramps or inclines can present special problems for forklifts, and that means you need to pay special attention when you encounter them. If you drive with a load on an incline, keep the load on the uphill side. Otherwise, the unit's weight may shift forward and off the rear steer wheel, compromising your control. It could also shift your load forward, causing the load to fall off or the forklift to tip. When traveling without a load, the fork should point downgrade, regardless of direction. Also, avoid surfaces that would cause the truck to tilt sideways. It's only a short distance from a tilt to a tip over. That also means never turn on a ramp or incline. This may sound obvious to you, but others have learned the hard way. Also keep a safe distance from the edge of ramps or dock platforms. Here again, many operators have learned a hard lesson by experience. If you're working in an area with railroad tracks, approach the tracks at a 45-degree angle to avoid getting stuck or losing balance. When traveling among other forklifts, keep a distance of at least 3 forklift lengths in front of and behind you. Don't pass another forklift traveling the same direction if you're at an intersection, a blind spot, or any other dangerous location. Really, it's safer just to avoid passing altogether. It should go without saying that stunt driving or horseplay are never acceptable. Forklifts are tools, not toys. Never give anyone a ride on your forklift either, unless it's designed for passengers. And never travel with any part of your body outside of the protective frame. A hand or foot could easily get pinched or crushed. Pedestrians are a fact of life in virtually all work environments. And just as in other driving situations, pedestrians always have the right of way. Thing is, in your workplace, there may not be nice, neat walkways to keep pedestrians and vehicle traffic separate. That's why you always need to be alert. Use the convex mirrors if your workplace has them. And remember to sound the horn and proceed with care at all intersections. Never approach someone head-on who's standing in front of a bench, wall, or other fixed object. Your forklift could lurch forward and pin or crush them. Instead, approach parallel to the person in the fixed object. Finally, even if you're not carrying a load, don't let anyone walk under your raised forks. It's just not safe. Picking up a load is one thing. Traveling safely with it is another. But placing a load at its destination also requires the utmost care from you. When it comes to placing a load, common...
All right, let's recap. You guys all awake?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh? All right, let's start. We're gonna recap. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's do a little quick recap. We're gonna talk about the ones that I feel like every driver that's taking this course always get these questions wrong. But if you have any questions that you saw in the video, anything that kind of confused you, by all means throw it in here. Let's debunk it. Let's get the right answer, right? So here goes on the first topic that he was talking about. He talked about weight capacity, right? He was mentioning about the weight capacity. These vehicles can weigh what, 2 to 3 thousand pounds. That's 2 to 3 average cars.
But that's when you plate, right?
What was that?
That's when you read your data plate, right? To know how much you can carry.
That is correct. I like that. I like that. I like the way you looked at that. That's actually one of the things that you should be doing when you do your pre-check inspection. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay. So the ones that I'm going to ask, I need you guys to answer. So let's get with this one. So on this question, I'm going to give you an example before you guys answer it. He mentions that the forklifts they weigh a lot, right? They can tip over very easily. I mean, you have to kind of put yourself in a 360-degree awareness when you're sitting on a forklift, or in your case, you guys do reach, which is a stand-up forklift. When you're pulling merchandise from a top view, you know, you always have to worry if you might push that merchandise behind it, or you might, you know, hit a sprinkling system or racking system, or, you know, you have to be carefully bring it down, you know, making sure you don't hit anything else, or looking around your surroundings constantly for fixtures or a person. I mean, it's a wreck. I mean, like in the video says, you require at least 6 months to a year to get the experience. And if you don't have the experience or the knowledge, and you want to get on these forklifts, like in the video says, you know, you're for a rude awakening, right? So let me ask you the first question. True or false? Can forklift maneuver as easier than a car?
No.
No.
Hell no, right?
No.
No way, man. It takes a lot of experience. It takes time. It takes personal skills and patience, and it's something that you have to have a lot of respect for. You know, at the end of the day, you want to go home and you know, clock out and get your job done, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. All right.
Yep.
I have another one right here. So, how many inches off the ground should you maintain your forks with a load or without a load on a flat surface while you're driving?
2 to 4 inches.
2 to 4 inches. 2 to 4 inches. I love that. 2 to 4 inches or as low as possible. Right? So what do you do when you have auto riggers in the middle?
Say that again?
What do you do when you have auto riggers, your auto riggers? You know, when you're driving your reach, what do you do in a situation like that? You keep it above your auto riggers, or what do you do?
Keep it above your auto riggers.
Exactly.
And the guys do the same thing.
Right. Well, some of the, I'd like to go back on the reach drivers. Reach drivers, they all have a tendency to pick up a load, and when they're carrying that load, they drive off with it. Do you guys do things like that, or you just stay in that location, bring it down carefully, you know, before driving off? You guys do that, or what is your best practice?
Yeah. In my lab, they had to pull out backwards, and then because the aisles were so small, we'd have to literally kind of like bring it down as we're turning a little bit, which seems like we're not allowed to do there.
Yeah.
But we did that because the aisles were so small. Like we didn't have like very good option of doing that.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's a sad thing that, you know, some areas, I mean, the reach is designed to be driven in a narrow area, but I've seen that you have to kind of put yourself in a situation when you're bringing down a load, you have to kind of go over something and then move your forklift to the side to bring down that load. It is kind of tricky, and it takes a really skillful person to do that. But yeah, and you know what? You said the same. You said the same thing. The way I'm thinking is it's unsafe. You know, because that's how you tip over very easily, right?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. That's something you want to mention. But keep in mind, you know, always make sure you try to do it as front and bring it down carefully. All right, let's move along. So I love the way you guys answer how many inches off the ground should you maintain your forks. 2 to 4 inches, not 6 inches, not 10 inches. So those are myths. Those are a culture that carries on, and even it gets to a point that even managers believe it. So remember, it's 2 to 4 inches as low as possible. The only time you raise your forks is when you're going over an obstacle, and then you bring it back down to as low as possible. Right, Ms. Mercedes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go on to the next question. Do you guys all know what a pre-check inspection?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How about checkup?
Very good. Pre-check inspection. I think that's the most important part of your day. I mean, that's something that you always want to make sure that you always do. Me personally, I always did my pre-check inspection when I came back from breaks and lunches. You never know, someone could have used your forklift, right? You want to make sure everything aligns with what it's from. What was that, Mercedes?
You're gonna be responsible for it because you was the last person that signed it out.
That is correct. That is correct. So, excuse me. Trying to get over this cough. All right. So that's a great that's a great way of saying it that way because at the end of the day, you're responsible. And even though there's something wrong with the forklift, and and I've seen this in my career, management has that tendency to say, just take it like that. Just take it, drive it. Everyone's been doing it that way. And it could be a defected tire, chunk off the tire, cracks on the forks, and you're being pressured to go ahead and fill out that pre-check inspection. You drive off with that forklift, and something happens. Who do you think's at fault, right? The driver.
Because you just want to paperwork.
That's correct.
I agree.
So I mean, it's basically the pre-check inspection is there for a reason. Protect you, protect the company's best interest. So always make sure you do that pre-check inspection, and anything that's considered an eyesore it's on that pre-check inspection sheet. You always want to make sure management's involved, so you can set it aside and lotto tag it. Let the proper people make the repairs on that forklift. Okay, so let me ask you something. How many parts to a pre-check inspection?
How many parts?
Yeah, how many parts? Based on the video. I'm sure some of you guys are going to say like 50, 60 parts, but there's only 2 parts. I want to get ahead of you guys. 2 parts to a pre-check inspection. It's visual and physical, right? Visual. The important thing is that you want to follow the pre-check inspection that the company provides. So they always a paper sheet or device. Go ahead.
Say a checklist.
Yeah, checklist.
Yeah.
So that pre-check inspection is the important thing. So you go through all that, the visual, you make sure everything aligns with that paper sheet, right? And then the physical is more like checking the gears, making sure they go up and down, side to side, any fluids, stuff like that. Real basic stuff. Remember, you guys are not forklift technicians, so don't make any repairs. Don't pull the old duct tape and start making repairs on your own. That's for technicians. So make sure don't tamper with the dashboard. Don't make any changes on the sound of the fork or the speed of the forklift. Leave that for technician. Just document everything on that pre-check inspection. And like I said, if no shame in lotto tagging your favorite forklift, because I know some of you guys will fall in love with your forklift and you're like, my baby. So make sure you set it aside for repair, right? We all have one of those. So yeah, so make sure, remember, visual and physical. Always do your pre-check inspection. Make sure you check it when you come back from breaks and lunches. You never know. Someone could use it. That's a tip. All right. All right. So we cover that one. All right. So let me ask you another one. If you need to get off your forklift more than 2 to 3 times per hour, do you still have to wear your seatbelt?
Yes.
Yes.
That was a crazy question.
Was easy.
That's a no-brainer, huh?
Times.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, you never. And then we all seen it. We've all seen it. So I want to make sure we all align with what I seen. You always get that forklift driver sitting on his forklift, taking a quick break, but not wearing his seatbelt, right?
Right.
Forks it down. He's arguing with you. Forks it down. Ocean Park. That's still using the forklift. You're still on that forklift. So always the perception is you're still on that forklift. You will be holding accountable. So remember, always wear your seatbelt, no matter what. If you're not using the forklift, you're parking at a designated area, not blocking exits, extinguish your walkway driveways, let's just go take the break somewhere else. Don't sit on that forklift, because always your perception is that if you're on that forklift, you're using it. I mean, the seatbelt is there for a reason. Prevents you from sliding off, tip overs. If you're on a cherry picker, you got the harness and the tether. Those are all safety devices that keeps you secure in the forklift. Cherry pickers have that tendency. I don't see any cherry pickers here, but I just like to throw it in there. They have that tendency to move their forklift a few feet to the charging station, and they don't feel like they want to connect their tether, and just being lazy. But remember, that's a Class 3 violation. You can still be holding accountable for that. You could be up to terminated. So let's remember, always wear your seatbelt regardless. All right? So let's move along. There's a part of the test where it talks about pedestrians having the right of way. Okay? I want you guys to listen to this. Okay, in the video, he does mention pedestrians always have the right of way, which is true. Pedestrians always have the right of way. Okay, So I'm gonna word it the way the test says. The test says, does OSHA regulate pedestrians to have the right of way? True or false?
True.
Because you're supposed to make sure you signaling on your way up too, to hear you to know that you're coming.
Those are safety protocols that you, I'm just saying, is that a OSHA regulation?
OSHA says the forklift itself has the right of way.
Okay. Let me clarify, and I want you guys to understand this because you might take the same test at your job site. All right, so it is pedestrians always have the right of way, but it's not an OSHA regulation. Now some of you guys are like, what? Not an OSHA regulation. It's actually a company policy. Okay, I'll give you guys an example. I used to work in a company where the drivers had the right of way. I don't know if you ever had that, but I did work in a company where the drivers had the right of way.
Yep.
Just because you have the right of way doesn't mean
We blowing our horn. We blowing our horn constantly so you can hear us. You know we coming.
that is correct. That's actually the proper way. So put it this way: if you're in a company that they say the drivers have the right of way and pedestrians have to be in a certain different location, doesn't make you the king of the road. All right. If you hit something or hit someone, you're still liable. You're still responsible. Doesn't matter. So pedestrians technically have the right of way. You still have to yield, look side to side, making sure no one's around you. Especially those loaders, when you're unloading trailers and you're bringing them out, always on the outside of the trailer, there's always that lumper that likes to walk by with his headphone, not paying attention, and you're not looking back when you're coming out of that trailer, right? You can hit someone. It's gonna be regardless your fault because it only takes a few seconds. If you don't take that time to look back, or you have control of your load and you're looking back, if you don't take that time to look back or look side to side and you hit someone, it's your fault regardless. Okay, so always keep that in mind. And nowadays we have Big Brother always watching, always looking, and the liability is a lot higher. So make sure that you always take the time. I know some of us drivers, we feel like we have eyes in back of our heads and we don't want to. We already are so used to doing the same thing, the same routine over and over. And sometimes we tend to not look back because we get so comfortable. So please, let's do away with those bad habits. Just take the time to look back, or if you have control of your freight, look back. And that's it. You can prevent or avoid a lot of things. Or hit a fixture. How many times we've heard someone hit a pillar, not looking back, right? In those warehouses. You can hear that all over the warehouse. All right, so let's prevent that, okay? We always want to prevent any accidents. So remember. All right, so we've covered some good topics, and I think you guys are aligned with the same things I'm seeing. So let's continue watching the video. And you guys have any questions?
No, sir.
All right, here goes.
Sense rules. We all know, however, that common sense isn't all that common. Your goal here is to ensure that your load is safe and stable. That starts with making sure the surface where the load is to be placed is flat and sturdy so the load won't tilt. If it's going in a rack or storage loft, be sure the load will be safely supported. Check the rack frame and decking. If it's damaged, wait until it's been repaired before placing the load. Before stacking, see that the bottom pallets are in good condition and able to support the additional weight.
When you're putting an item on a rack, the rack needs to be secured and bolted to the floor, first of all, in case the forklift hits it, it doesn't move or tip it over. They also want to check for overhead obstructions. You may have sprinkler systems up there, you may have other items, and you don't want the mass of the forklift to hit that, so you want to check that as well.
And never place heavy loads on top of light loads. See? Common sense. To actually place the load, stop in front of your destination. Look for overhead obstructions, and if there aren't any, slowly raise the load to the height required. Stay on the forklift and at the controls whenever you raise a load. Position the load and drive slowly forward. Lower the load. Place it square and straight. Once it settles, look for pedestrians or obstacles in your path. Then, back up slowly. Don't turn the forklift or change the fork height until you're sure the forks are clear of the pallet. Finally, lower the forks before you turn or drive away. All pretty straightforward stuff. When it comes time to park the unit, be a safe and courteous coworker. Never park in front of walkways, stairways, or fire exits. And lower the forks to the ground so they don't become a tripping hazard. If you're parked on an incline, chalk the wheels. There are rules every operator must follow when leaving a forklift. If you'll be staying within 25 feet of the forklift, lower the forks, set the controls to neutral, and set the parking brake. If you'll be more than 25 feet away, or the forklift will be out of your line of sight, you're also required to turn the unit off. Know what though? Even if you stay within 25 feet, to be extra safe,